Okay, so I was struggling making this video because life, you know, but I realized there's no better perfect time to make this video than right this fucking second, because this video is how I keep going and how I push past when I'm struggling. So of course I would be in this zone, energetic frequency, when I'm making this video, just because it is the most relatable at this moment in time. So I stopped. I got really obnoxiously like in my head, and then I went into Juice Co and I got some things. So we're gonna start this video out just by saying, like, first off, get something happy that's made of herbs. That's huge. I use herbs like literally all the time for everything. They're my saving grace. There are so many happy herbs that just will totally help your mood. I think regulation of mood is huge. I even cut out my caffeine a lot. I do have a lot of hard times when I drink too much caffeine, because caffeine actually genuinely makes you more sad, and same with a lot of other like uppers that then bring you down. So herbal remedies. We're gonna take a sip. I never actually drink this plain, but I don't think it would taste good in the drink that I got. Next I got Curious number 6, which is a coconut pineapple painkiller booze-free craft cocktail, so you can get weird without getting boozy. I'm still gonna have my mom's coming to town, so I'm picking her up tonight and I have a lot of time to spare. Beautiful sound. I need to be sober enough to drive all the way to the airport and back, so we're gonna have this. Cheers. Tastes good. And then last but not least, I got some pickles. So I'm gonna eat a pickle and then we'll get into the video. I got spicy habanero pickles, homemade. They look stunning. I'm a huge pickle advocate. So spicy. This is like taking a pickle shot. I just need to drink it down a little so I don't spill it. Did you guys know that people sell pickle shots in the store now? You can like buy a pickle shot. Can you believe that? I could be making money on that. God, that's some good pickle juice. I fucking love when people walk by and they stare at you like you're fucking crazy. I think over time I've learned to fall in love with the way that people look at you when you're a creator and you're doing weird shit. Which you're never actually doing weird shit, you're just recording yourself existing. These are all things I needed to make this video. And just for reference, this is the 3rd time I've made this video. And I'm finally hitting a point of fuck it, which is where videos are best made from. In case you were wondering. So this video is how to keep going when you're fucking struggling, or how to keep going in general, like how to push through, especially in the hard times in your life. Like, really it's just how to keep going. Like, how do you keep going? This is my take on how you keep going. I really wanted to start this video out by reading a poem that I wrote recently that I think is great, and it really just encompasses a lot of the same kinds of things that I'm going to talk about in this video. When I read poetry, I lean over so that my voice can be like more raw. I know that's weird, but I love it. That's how I like to listen to my poetry back. If I could tell you anything, it would be to never let the voices of others speak loud enough that you cannot hear your own. And that coming from someone who knows how easy it is to listen, to let them in. I've done it all my life. It started when I was maybe 10. And damn, I wish that when my mom told me that I couldn't sing, that I heard that I can. That I'm better than I think I am, or that when theater class ended and I saw shitty grades because I wasn't the very best at it, that it didn't stop me from pursuing acting, or simply trying again. I wish that I didn't listen to the choir team that said I'd never make it. I wish, instead, I only ever listened to the teacher who gave me a solo performance and that I took it and ran. Damn. Do I wish that the dance teachers who didn't make a career out of their passions, that took me out of all of the dances, threw me in the back at every practice, could know the backbone they were building within me. I wish they could know that my story didn't start at 15. It started when I was 6 or 7, maybe even 3. When the youngest version of me picked up a styrofoam microphone and sang like I was in front of a million beings. I wish they could know that I'm still in it at 27. The days go by and I still have that same passion, that I haven't given up and I'd never dream of it. I wish someone told me I didn't need to succeed at a certain age, and that honest success is the kind where you go to bed at night grateful for your existence. I wish someone could have told me, but if they had, then I wouldn't be here to tell you, and Lord knows how lucky I am to be able to. So even if you don't listen to this, listen to the voice inside your own head, the one that's softer and more centered than the rest of them, the one that stems from a place within that's simply undeniable, because that's the only one who truly knows what your mission is. Okay, thanks. One of the first few points that I think is really, really important to be able to keep going is a huge, huge, huge reminder that you don't need to succeed by a certain age or a certain point in time. And it's really, really important to just be the most you can be and be the most present you can be and celebrate every single second and every single win in that sense. So right here, right now, like me struggling or me having a hard time making this video, me going and getting a drink and drinking with you guys and just hanging out and being as happy and present and real as I can be, that in and of itself is something that I can celebrate and I can be here for. Moments like that are what really help me out when it comes to pushing through the hard points. Like when you're struggling with yourself, anytime that you're having a hard time or you get yourself locked in your head, like get out of your zone, go hang out with a friend, or just push past it by doing something else that makes you happy. I think when I say celebrating the small wins, what I really mean by that is resting in your joy and resting in the remembrance of what makes you the happiest and what brings the light back into you. Anytime that you're doing something that you're pushing for business, or you're doing creatively, or you're doing in life in general, if you're having a hard time with it or you need to be able to celebrate that moment, push through with something that makes you happy. Like right now, pickles make me happy, and Euphoria from Nima Mundi makes me happy, and this little drink makes me happy. Being able to really put yourself back into your body and resting in the celebration that you are alive right here, right now. And right here, right now is the best that you can get. You're never going to be in the future, and you're never going to be in the past. Your memories might recall moments from both, but the place that you're going to find the most restfulness or joy or presence, or where you're going to feel the most centered in yourself, is actually right here, right now. And if you're feeling out of loop, usually that's because your mind is in all these other places rather than in your body. I often use meditation or hypnosis or things to just center myself, to really pull me back into like my light and my energy, and being able to celebrate life as it's happening rather than at other moments, and even just the little moments of life that are happening. In order to pull myself back into my joy and my happiness, I share all the reminders of the things that I consistently need. You're worthy, I'm worthy, like we're worthy together, and we deserve to be here, right now is perfect. It's exactly where we're meant to be. We're in no rush. Like these little types of reminders are things that they really help me personally when I'm struggling, just to fall back into my joy and my gratitude and my happiness, and celebrate life as it's happening. So I choose to share those messages anytime that I'm in a rut. Rewiring your brain is super, super important, and that's actually one of my other tips, number 2, I guess, is rewiring your brain, which is where a lot of the thought patterns of what I was just saying comes from. I feel like I've spent so much time rewiring my brain, and I actually have an entire blog post about this on my website. I'll put my website down below. My blog is called Freya's Labyrinth. I'll put it below because it is an entire blog post that talks about this so in depth. But it's so important just to like, basically I call it reprogramming, but it's reprogramming your brain. Your brain is kind of like a computer, and the coding is what has been created throughout your life and what's been put into your brain, the things you've been taught, the things you've seen, experienced, energetic frequencies that you totally don't even know that you've experienced. So much subconscious programming and also conscious programming. And beginning the journey into yourself and into your brain to just like start to sit back in yourself and listen and see the thoughts that come up within your mind. So for me, anytime that I hear negative thoughts or I see negative thoughts coming up in my mind, or or popping around. Like I'm like, and I've already done like the work to see like where they came from. If you haven't, that's something I highly recommend, is just like when you witness your thoughts, ask yourself like where they came from. It's super important to just start questioning yourself and starting to get to know yourself better. It's like this journey of life is getting to know yourself. It's getting to know who you are and who you want to be in this world, you know, like recentering and refinding your heart and what like breathes through you. With programming, as your thoughts are coming up, you kind of just want to like catch them and see them, and I call it reprogramming because it's kind of like replacing your thoughts. So for me, if I'm struggling with like how I was struggling with this video a minute ago, me getting inside of my head and being like, oh, like I don't know why this is so hard, like why can't I just talk to you guys like I'm a normal human being? And I totally can, but like the fact that I am programmed to believe that I can't, that in and of itself and that thought is something that I had to grab and be like, actually I can push through this, like that's not my thought, like I can do anything I want to do. And I think I can't is a really incredible example of a thought that needs to be reprogrammed in everybody's brains. This is actually the very first thought that I ever reprogrammed in my brain, and I still to this day struggle catching it sometimes, but it's so easy to not even notice that it's in your thought patterns. So many things that you think you can't do. These are all a lot of subconscious and conscious societal programs that have been put into your brain and the way that you see the world, the way that you see certain things, thinking that you can't do something. And so when I first started my journey into changing my mind and my pattern and my perspective of the world was by finding the thought pattern of I can't. And every time that I would hear myself say I can't, I would stop myself and be like, actually I can do anything I want to. If I put my mind to something, I can do it. Like I know that about myself, and anyone else can do that too. It's just your choice of whether or not you put your mind to something. So then moving forward, as it would come up, anytime that I would hear I can't in my head, I would be like, oh my gosh, yes, I can if I choose to. I just need to choose to do that. So then if it pops up like it did earlier where I was like, oh, I don't know why this is so hard, I don't understand, like why can't I do this? I can do this, I just need to push past these barriers that I'm finding, which really all are stemming from places within myself where I feel unworthy, or I need to work on my self-worth more, or when I'm experiencing imposter syndrome, which have been a lot of things that have been coming up for me recently, like as I'm exploring this journey of self and who I am and like really who I'm becoming. I've noticed, and I've done a lot of like mental work to get to the point where I'm really realizing that most things stem from me needing to recognize my own worth, and that has to do with my self-worth. And just that's why imposter syndrome really is so present for me right now. But that is just a little like, I guess that's a little window for you guys into the way that my brain works and the way that I reprogram my brain. I just feel like reprogramming in general is such an important thing when it comes to pushing past the boundaries that you think are around your system, that are unconsciously placed around your system, and just beginning to slowly start to like break away at them and crack those boundaries open so that you can shine out, you know, and just really come from here and glow. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about that helps me surpass through how to keep going has to do with my creative zone. And I don't think that this is directly correlated to a creative zone. I think that you can really place this in to your creative place or your workplace or your passions or a craft. I like to use the word craft because most people have a craft that they are developing, and it's such a universal word in my opinion, because it kind of goes a little bit beyond like the construct societally, the constructs that have been created to separate so many different things, and craft is something that's a little bit more universal, so I love that word. When it comes to your creative zone, I'm going to use defining your craft or creative zone because that's how I'm going to relate it back to myself, because you can really only speak from your own experiences. I've found that it's really, really important to put yourself into a space that is just so honorable of your creativity and of your craft. And in order to do that, I personally have to take social media away. Social media has been something that's really been like shifting the way that our world works and shifting everyone's minds to honestly have like shorter attention spans. And those attention spans tend to disconnect us from the ability to sit down and really center within ourselves and work on our crafts. So what I personally have been doing is I created a time within my day. You can do this weekly, you can do this monthly, you can do this every single day if you want. It's totally like your life. You choose how you want to adapt, and you take things that work for you and apply them to your life. That's what life is. For me, I've taken a morning routine, and every single morning I do this, and this is how I'm able to really develop my craft and continue to work on my creativity, and just, I feel like, excel in my creativity, especially pushing past the days that I really struggle with my creativity. And this all starts for me with putting my phone away. When I wake up in the mornings, I do not touch my phone for at least like 2 to 3 hours, just because it's been so healthy for me, and I am such a social media person that I struggle a lot with social media being something that's really been taking over my life. And so recentering myself back into my real life and just being able to be present in my body and in my experience, I put my phone away in the mornings. And so I'll wake up and I'll just spend the morning with nature and with myself, and I'll think about whatever I want to think about. Sometimes I'll run my mind like overdrive. Once I've woken up, I'll have a matcha, and then I'll sit down and I'll journal, or I'll release energies until I get to a place where I feel ready, and then I'll sit down and I'll work on my craft for an hour, which for me is actually writing. So every morning I sit down and I try and write something, or if I'm doing photography, or if I'm doing anything else that I do so many things. But being able to sit down and completely be disconnected from my phone in that sense, and just be able to be so present with my craft, I feel like that really pushes me and helps me be able to keep present, and yeah, it keeps me going. I feel like the days that are really, really hard, they're still hard, but it's so much better when you're like, oh, I'm just here to write for an hour, and being disconnected from any type of a distraction sits me down. And even if what I write is like absolute bullshit, it doesn't even matter. Like, what matters is that I'm giving myself the creative space, the honor, and this dedicated time to be able to really respect what I'm creating, and even just having a creative space in general, no matter what I'm doing. It really is just like, it's a reciprocation of honor towards myself. I feel like that's a super healthy thing to practice. So that is one of my third little tips to pushing forward and continuing going in any type of craft that you are creating. All right, and then my next tip, my fourth tip, is to really remove perfectionism. I'm a huge fucking advocate and believer that perfection doesn't exist, and I really don't like the terminology of the word perfect. There's nothing in this world that is actually perfect, and people do use the terminology that's perfect for me, but really that means that you're an energetic match to that. That's why you're attracting it to you, and I just feel like there's so many other words that go within. Even if you just look up words and you teach yourself a little bit about etymology, being able to trace back the center of words and where they come from. I just feel like there's so many words that you can use that really reciprocate the actual energy of your source energy and your center and who you are, and they're just so beautiful. And perfectionism is something that it's honestly kind of small-minded, and it's set to keep us within a box, or to keep us in a place where we don't feel like anything is ever good enough. And that also relates back to self-worth, but I think that needing to be perfect really stems from something that is societally taught, and something that we watch so many other people try to do and be and experience nonstop throughout life. You know, the most beautiful parts of us is the fact that nothing is ever going to be exactly as we see it in our heads, and we get to fall in love with and choose to fall in love with creation. We as beings are learning to create and co-create with the universe, and that is such a beautiful experience, and that in and of itself is something to actually fall in love with, and fall in love with sharing. So instead of trying to make things that you're creating so perfect and hit this X degree or this or that or all these things that just like really box something in to be something so specific, rather loosening it up a little bit. And you just need to remember that you're in creation of flow and an energy source and center that's moving through you, and that's going to come through in so many different ways. And your craft and whatever you're doing or choosing to do in this world or share in this world, it's going to develop over time. I feel like we choose as humans to be here and experience it's so important to just remember that like something isn't going to adapt and shift and change without that time and without consistent practicing something and walking your way into mastery. You're not going to be able to find mastery. That comes through steps, and you have to take one foot after the other, which is such a simple idea, but really, like, if you never put anything out because you're trying to fit it within this box, this little tiny box in the world of what it could exist as, then you're not ever going to take that next step, you know what I mean? And it's so important that you just remember that it's one step and you can recreate it in the next step, you know? Every single step is a new opportunity. Every moment is a new opportunity for you to try again. And it's that putting new energy in, recreating and recreating and recreating, and that is the process that is the best to fall in love with. And it really removes perfectionism because it gives you the opportunity to just relearn and retry again and again and again. And that is such a beautiful thing to experience, and it's a huge part of, I don't know if anyone can relate with this, but for me, it's a huge part of why I came here. I'm here to learn to create, you know, to co-create with the universe and to just experience that energy like flowing through me and get better and better at like moving things through me that I'm hearing and listening to and feeling inspired by, like all these joys that are just like flowing through my system. And being able to fall in love with that flow and the feeling of it moving through me is something that I think is so important. And the more you learn to do that, the happier you're going to feel, the more you're going to feel in alignment. And no matter what it is that you're choosing to do at that moment in time, that feels so good. And perfectionism honestly feels so negative. Maybe this is just my own experience with the word perfectionism and being perfect, but it's been a huge block in my life. And I feel like removing myself from perfectionism and stepping away from it and stepping more into the concept of water and the concept of flow and the concept of just like being a little bit more loosey-goosey with it is something that's just been so healthy to be able to really help me in at least moving. And movement in general is something that helps me just like get things flowing again. My neck itches. This next tip is actually something that I think is a really, really cool concept that I actually learned from an ancestral healing that I attended many, many years ago. Many, like 4-ish years ago or something. I used to be a part of this really cool community. And the community, we all got together one day and there was this guy who did ancestral healings. And so there were about 20 of us in this session specifically. And we all sat in a circle, right? And so then there was one guide who was the ancestral healer and he would walk us through the experience. One person from the group of 20 was picked as the center and we would be going through and representing their ancestral line and their ancestral healing. But in order to do that, we had to do something to be able to help channel. So he would pick the first person and then that person would write their closest people like mom and dad and a grandma or grandpa, or I don't remember what it was, but it was like 5 or 6 different people, and it'd all be written on a little piece of paper, and then it would go in this bowl, which I thought was cool as it was happening. It was really, this was one of the cool, interesting experiences that I got to witness and be a part of. But it would go in this bowl, and then 5-ish, 6 other people were picked to represent the energies or the ancestry energies of the people that were in the bowl. So the other 5 people were picked and we'd go up and we'd pick one of the tabs, but you wouldn't get to read it. This was super important. You wouldn't be able to know who you were channeling because otherwise you'd be biased with the energy that you were channeling. So you'd basically take the paper and you put it in your pocket. And then we'd do this practice in order to channel that energy through us because we didn't know what it was. We'd have to do something that was called hollowing out. And this is something that I think is such a beautiful way to push through any blocks that you have, is by hollowing out. If you were to imagine like a huge piece of wood and carving the entire center out, basically hollowing the piece of wood out so it's just the outer layer and there's nothing moving through it. That way you can move things through that piece of wood, right? So that's the same concept, but you're going to do it with your bones and your body, your vessel basically. So you basically hollow out your vessel, you clear all of your energies, clear everything out. You even ask yourself to step back so that you can hollow yourself out and welcome in the energy of whom you're channeling. Of course, there are always protection prayers said before any of this stuff happens. I think that's so important as a protection prayer for anyone and everyone in any type of spiritual or channel experience. Like, any place that you're going that is into the astral realms or the other side, or in a place that you can't see with your physical eyeballs, then I think that you should always say a protection prayer before you begin, so that you can ensure that only beings of love and light are coming through into your space, into your sphere, into your vessel, however you want to choose to word your specific prayer. Once you've hollowed yourself out, then it gives you this ability to connect. Oh, my camera's dying. I'm like, why is it beeping red? It gives you this ability to really connect with spirits and muses, which I'm gonna change the battery really fast. I'll be right back. Hollowing out gives you the ability to let your muses speak through you. I think this is a really, really cool practice, especially if you're a creative. Anytime that you reach a block, or even just to practice every now and then, because it's a really cool experience to talk to your team of light, or to talk to your muses specifically that come through you and speak to you all the time, or to let them move things through you, to help share your story, or to help, I don't know, journal or draw things, or whatever you feel open to doing. This is just like a practice and a way that you can give yourself a new perspective and kind of open up your system to be able to remove those blocks and just let whatever's coming through come through. I think that that's super important when it comes to showcasing yourself, sharing yourself, sharing the ideas that come through. Even if you're just doing like a brainstorming session, it can be a really cool way to brainstorm, because you are able to just let everything move through you. So that's a really cool practice that I do, and I hope that that's something that you try. I highly, highly recommend it. I think it's very, very cool. But it pushes you through a lot of the blocks, and it's a good new way that I haven't heard super often to be able to push through some blocks, especially when you're reaching like creative blocks. Yeah, so those are actually my main points that I really wanted to talk about in this video. I feel like they're all some really fun things and really new things to think about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna eat some more pickles. But I hope that you liked this episode. I'm sending you so much love. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to comment them. I love answering questions. I love the chance to connect and communicate with you. Don't forget to, if you're interested, check out Freya's blog. I'll put it down below so that you can, or Freya's Labyrinth, I will put it down below so that you can go check it out and read some more about the different things that go through my mind, the things I think about, and some of the other ideas that I recommend, or the ways that I have worked through my own mental patterning these past few years. If you just want to get inspired by something new. And follow me on Instagram if you want little motivational quotes or happy things to see, because I post them all the time, and I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you guys hopefully next week. Mwah.